everyone, welcome back to the challenge. Today is our second day and we're going to be starting some movements. So I'm going to ask you to find yourself comfortably on your mat first. So whenever you're ready, place one hand on your abdomen, one hand on your chest, and we're just going to be closing our eyes and taking a couple breaths here just to set the intention for today. So from here, I'm just going to ask you to come back to the same kind of breath we were doing last time. So just as a reminder, we want to focus on finding a strong base where our sitting bones are, and we want to find ourselves nice and light with the head. So imagine that we're stacking the bones on top of each other, so it's a least effortful position for our seated position right now. The hand on the chest and the hand on the abdomen are just there to simply remind you of where you're expanding mostly from. And just as a reminder, we're going to be taking breaths in and out through the nose. So just a couple of moments here, retuning with the way we breathe in our first session. Remembering that our breath is our way of expanding our body, expanding the ribs. And whenever we're going to be finding ourselves in situations where we feel we have to hold our breath or we have to change our breath, remind ourselves that we don't want to hold our breath. We just want to come back to the breath we have at the moment. So when you're ready, I'm going to ask you to bring your arms up towards the sky, looking at your hands. And from here, we're going to be placing the left hand onto the floor and bring the right arm up towards the ear. Maybe your elbow is going to go onto the floor, maybe it's just your hand and you're just going to be side bending. This is completely fine. Just find a variation that's best for you. What I'm going to be asking you to do though is opening up on the inhale, looking up towards your hand. And exhale, trying to bring that hand onto the floor or the elbow onto the floor here. And inhale, we're opening up, fanning out through the ribs. Exhale, facing towards the floor. One more time like this. Inhale, opening up. Exhale, rounding through. Inhale, coming back up and coming back to the center. Just noticing how it feels from the right side versus the left. And when you're ready, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So inhale, looking up towards the sky. And exhale, bring the right hand onto the floor and left arm up towards the ear as much as possible. Maybe you wish to stay here, or maybe you want to bend your elbow, grabbing hold of your head. Inhaling, looking up at your left elbow. And exhale, trying to bring the elbow to touch the floor. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, rounding through. One last time like this. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, rounding through. Inhale, coming back up. And exhale to neutral. Now I'm just going to ask you to swap your legs, so the one that was on top will go underneath and vice versa. Inhale, bring the arms up as high as possible, and exhale, bring the right hand to the left knee, going for a twist. Trying not to go with just the arms, but really trying to imagine that our core is like a damp towel and we want to rinse everything out. Inhale, we're always trying to expand a little bit taller. And exhale, try to go a little bit deeper. One last breath like this. Inhale, coming back up to center. And exhale to the opposite side. So the left hand to the right knee and the right arm comes behind your back. Inhale, growing tall. And exhale, trying to turn a little bit further. With every inhale, lengthening, and with every exhale, twisting a little bit more with the space we created. One last breath here. and up. Coming back to center from here. Lovely. From here, we're just going to go onto all fours. So I'm going to be asking you to have your knees underneath your hips, your wrists underneath your shoulders, and find yourself in a neutral spine here. So we want to have as long as possible from the tailbone all the way to the top of the head. From here, keeping your gaze right in front of your hands, I'm going to ask you to squeeze your shoulder blades as much as possible together and trying to separate the shoulder blades as much as possible. And squeeze as much as possible and separate as much as possible. One last time like this, remembering to breathe. Exhale, coming back as much as possible, and gently when you're ready, find yourself in a neutral position. From here, we're going to be bringing our belly button towards the floor and drawing our gaze towards the ceiling on the inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to be bringing our tailbone up towards the spine, bring the chin towards the chest. Inhale, belly button to floor, gaze towards the ceiling. Exhale, rounding through. Inhale, lifting the gaze up. Exhale, rounding through. And when you're ready, come back to neutral. From here, we're going to be trying to bring our belly button towards the left and then towards the right. Trying to keep the shoulders where they are, just swapping from side to side, keeping the gaze right and neutral, so facing just in front of the hands. And from here, we're going to be going all the way to the left as much as possible. And we're going to be dropping the belly button towards the floor, gazing upwards and rounding through. Still towards the left. Inhale, belly button to floor, gazing upwards. Exhale, rounding through. Once more like this. Inhale, gazing upward. Exhale, rounding through. Going back to neutral. And now bring your belly button towards the right. Inhale, gazing upwards. Exhaling, rounding through. Inhale, gazing upwards. Exhaling, rounding through. Once more like this. Inhale. And exhale. And then come back to neutral. All squared. Lovely. And so from here, I will ask you to move your spine as if it was this big circle. So imagine that you're drawing a big circle from your belly button. So whichever side feels best for you, just try to create the biggest circle possible, exploring the different areas. And wherever you feel an area of tension or a little bit of tightness, I'll just ask you to stay in the area and maybe create smaller circles in the area. And try to keep in contact with the breath. So anytime you're arching the back, inhale. Every time you're rounding through the back, exhale. And to the opposite direction. Lovely. From here, I'm just going to be asking you to, we're going to be shifting our weight onto the right knee, lifting the left leg up towards the back. Again, trying not to collapse in the back, but trying to find a nice neutral back here. And bring the right arm up if it's available to you. So we're inhaling, lengthening as much as possible from the toes all the way to the fingertips. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, try to bring the elbow towards the knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Once more, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. And place the hand and the knee onto the floor. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. From here, shift your weight onto the left side. The right leg goes back, trying to find as much length as possible there is. Trying not to collapse anywhere in the spine, keeping the integrity here. And when you're ready, if it's available to you, lift the left arm up towards the ear. Inhale, we're trying to lengthen as much as possible. And exhale, rounding through, bring the elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. And place the hand and the knee onto the floor. From here, I'm just going to ask you to keep your knees right below the hips and walk your hands forwards. From here, allow yourself to just melt towards the floor. It might be your forehead going onto the floor. It might be your chin or your chest. It's all up to you. Just notice where it feels good. And when you're ready, try to walk your hands towards the right to open up the left side of the body and just notice how it feels. We're staying here for 2 more breaths. And to the opposite side, so to the left. Walking your hands nice and slowly. Two more breaths here. And when you're ready, coming back to center. From here, I'm just going to ask you to bring your hips towards the floor and keeping your elbows onto the floor. From here, I'm going to ask you to squeeze your shoulder blades as much as possible together and try to imagine that you're pulling yourself forwards. And we're just going to be taking big circles of our neck in one direction and in the opposite direction. And when you're ready, I'm just going to be asking you to engage the legs as much as possible, and we're going to be trying to lift our upper body and our legs up as much as possible. Maybe bring the arms towards the back if it's easier for you, or if you're ready for the challenge, bring the arms up towards your ears. We're staying here for 3, 2, and 1. Relax. I'm going to ask you to go onto your hands and knees. Bring the right leg forwards in between your hands. And from here, we're just going to be keeping our belly button onto our thigh. Keeping the hands onto the floor or onto blocks if it's available to you. Inhaling, we're going to try to open up through the chest, lengthen, looking forwards. And exhale, trying to keep the belly button onto the thigh and trying to straighten that front leg. It does not have to go all the way straight. Inhale, looking forwards. Exhale, keeping the belly button onto the thigh. It might stop here. If it's available to you, go as far as it's possible. And inhale, coming back forwards. One last time like this. Exhale, going back. Inhale, come forwards. Lovely. From here, we're just going to be, I'm going to ask you to tuck your tailbone underneath. So I'm going to ask you to squeeze the left glutes as much as possible. And we're going to be coming onto our back knee. So from here, you can be in this position. And from here, try to drag your tailbone towards the floor, shifting your pelvis back. So you're going to be noticing a stretch on the front leg, on the front aspect of your back leg. And we're just going to take a couple breaths here. Inhale, lifting the arms up towards the ceiling. One last big breath in here. And exhale, framing your front foot, tucking the back toes underneath. Bring the right leg back and just swapping legs. So the left leg comes forwards, the right knee goes onto the floor. Again, from here, keep your belly button onto your thigh. Inhale, looking forwards. And exhale, keeping the belly button contact onto the thigh and trying to straighten the front leg on the exhale. Inhale, coming forwards. Exhale, keeping the belly button contact onto the leg. Inhale, forwards. One last time. Inhale, forwards. And from here, squeeze the right glutes as much as possible and relax. Squeeze and notice the difference if it's doing anything to the anterior aspect of your leg. If not, no worries. We're just going to come back up here so we're nice and neutral. We're not collapsing down here. We're coming back up here. And you might first notice that your back is a little bit arched lower down here. So I'm going to ask you to tilt the pelvis and squeeze the right glutes as much as possible. You should be feeling a stretch down here. When you're ready, take a deep breath in, bring the arms up towards the ceiling, and we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Noticing the breath on the expansion of the abdomen and the relaxation. One last cycle of breath here. And exhale, bring the hands back onto the floor. From here, we're just going to be tucking the back toes. Bring the right leg to meet the left, and we're going to go onto our backs right here. You might prefer to have your feet together and your knees wide apart, like a butterfly position. Or you just may prefer to have your reversed, so the knees touching but the feet apart. Or bring the legs forwards. From here, we're going to do the same thing as we did in the first session. So I'm just going to ask you to clench the muscles of your face as much as possible and relax. Keeping the eyes closed here. I'm going to ask you to squeeze your face as much as possible and relax. Squeeze your toes as much as possible and relax. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears and draw them back down in neutral position. And from here, clench your glute as much as possible and relax. Just here at the end of the session, we're here to relax and restore our bodies. Noticing if there's any changes in our body. Allow yourself to feel nice and heavy. This is called Shavasana, the corpse pose. So if anyone were to come closer to you, pick up a limb and let it go, it would just drop on the floor without any resistance. Allow yourself to ground onto your mat, noticing the points of contact with the floor. Notice where your breath is coming from. Noticing if the ribs are expanding a little bit easier now. Noticing if your breath through the nose is a little bit easier and flowing easily. Whenever you're ready, you can start creating some small little movements with your fingers, your toes, your wrists and your ankles. If your body's calling for it, you can keep yourself a nice big stretch. And when you're ready, you can roll onto your right side. Maybe bring the left leg to closer to your left hip. So you can push onto the floor to roll onto your right. Bring the left hand in front of your body and press it into the floor to help you come back into a comfortable seat position. Keeping the eyes closed, keeping the breath as steady as it was before during Shavasana. I'm going to ask you to bring your arms up towards the ceiling to seal down the practice. The thumbs in the area between your eyebrows for the thoughts of love, to your lips for words of love, and to your heart center for actions driven with love. The light within me honors the light within you.